Hello, hello, hello to everyone who's watching me right now on the Limitless Show. Thank you so much for joining me here from YouTube. And week after week, I have been really enjoying bringing this show to you with lots of phenomenal people, getting them to share their lives, their wisdom, and all the challenges that they faced and how they came above those challenges and they never let it dim their light. And today I have one such guest with me. She is Chrissy Quinn, and she was a child amongst 12 children that she had in her family. And she was a part of that. And she had faced a lot of challenges while growing up. She had problems. She was diagnosed with depression, ADHD, dissociation disorder. And by age 22, she had overcome many such labels that she had all through her growing up years. And then she gained momentum. She excelled in her career and obtained 5 promotions within a 5-year period. That's humongous. Today, Chrissy works with people all around the world. She's an empowerment coach who's based out of Sydney, Australia. And she's also the owner and founder of Sequin Consulting. And she works with people all around the world to reclaim their power and tap into their greatest potential and ultimately live life on their own terms. So, with a warm round of applause, let's welcome Chrissy Quinn.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. An honor and an absolute pleasure to have you here, Chrissy. I'm really inspired with your journey and all the testimonials that you have. So first thing I want to know from you is how were you able to remove those labels from your life and be your authentic self and live life on your own terms?
How was I able to remove the labels? What a great question. You know, the first thing that even came up as soon as you said that reminded me of a session today with a client, and that was really around discipline and consistency. That's how I was able to remove those particular labels, because it's the recognition that I was constrained by those labels. That's what I lived by. And when I decided no more, I'm not going to live by these labels, whilst I can experience something, but I'm not going to associate and connect with it. I made that decision to shift that, and then to have a focus and to have consistency and discipline, and in areas that were going to empower me and support me, not those things that were going to put me in a box.
Wow, beautiful. And how did you realize that discipline and the consistency are the keys to becoming my authentic and greater self? How did you actually had that realization?
Yeah, what a great question. So a little bit of context. By the time I was 14, I'd seen 8 different psychologists, right? And I had massive trust issues. When I was a teen, I had massive trust issues, and I didn't have the right sense of safety and rapport with a certain psychologist that I had seen at that age. Right. So I didn't take on any feedback from any of the people that I'd spoken to. I wouldn't even open up. And there was actually a man who was actually a priest, who I ended up working with for about 18 months. And it was through working with him that he helped me to really build up these small disciplines and consistencies, and help me to really essentially recreate who I was and the story that I was telling myself, and doing the tiniest things like, you know, not having sugar in my tea. Now, if you take a step back and look at that, it's like, well, how does not putting sugar in your tea change your life? But what it did for me is it taught me to have discipline in the small things. And as I look back now, Andrew, it's like, wow, he told me, Chrissy, when you can have discipline in the small things, you can have discipline in the big things. When you can have discipline in the small things, which is where you're putting your focus, thinking about certain things. I was going through a phase where I was thinking about things that were hurting me, like, you know, events that had happened previously when I was much younger, and I was reliving those events. And it was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So if I can learn to have discipline around even my focus and my mindset and what I would think about on a consistency, that's how I built it up. So it was with his guidance and support that I was able to implement that. It was life-changing.
How beautiful.
Absolutely
What a
life-changing.
God-sent person, seriously.
He was indeed. Absolutely was.
Absolutely. So how was it growing amongst 12 children? And what were the challenges you or your siblings faced?
Yeah. You know what? Growing up in a family of 12, it was a bit crazy, you know. There's so many different ways of looking at it. You know, in some aspects of it, it was crazy. In some aspects of it, it was an absolute blessing. You know, like in the morning getting ready for school, it was just chaos. You know, everyone's doing their thing, or you know, we're running out the door. I remember so many times just being like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss the bus. So I'm like running out the front door, and it was crazy. But at the same time, there was always someone to be able to lean on. You know, when we would experience challenges, for example, you know, there were times when my dad might lose his temper. At least if he got upset with me, I'd have one of my siblings saying, hey, it's all good, you know, like we've got each other, you know, I've got you. So we'd be able to have that sense of you know, community within ourselves, right, of knowing that we had each other's backs, you know. And that's one of the things that I really value about my siblings. You know, it's like I've got 11 best friends. You know, some of my siblings I'm obviously more close than others, and we've got different types of relationships now as we've grown up. But it was kind of like we had our own little communities and different cliques and things like that. But yeah, we never really had to feel alone. And you know, Anshu, one of the things is there were times when I was a teenager where I'm one of 12 children, as I've shared, right, as you've shared with everybody. But there were times where I felt so alone. Yeah. And what actually happened is I would kind of put up this invisible wall, maybe as a protective mechanism. I'm not too sure exactly what it is, but it really just taught me the power of what this mind can do and what the stories that we tell ourselves can do, right? So one of the things we've highlighted is not letting labels define us. I grew up in a family of 12 children, and there were times where I felt so alone because I was pushing myself away from everybody else. Yeah. I was saying to myself that I'm alone rather than actually inviting people in. It's like I was rejecting them so that they couldn't reject me. And when I was able to shift that, everything shifted.
How beautiful. Very beautifully shared. So, I mean, even when I think about it, I feel like it must have been like a party all the time at home, like almost 14 people at home. So that's like a party, right? All the time.
Yeah. Well, whether you look at it as a party, I'm not too sure. I know I used to come home from school sometimes and mum's like, here, can you peel the potatoes for me? There's 15 potatoes just to peel for dinner tonight. Or, you know, I was talking to my brother the other day and I was like, remember when we had to wash up all of the plates, you know, like 14 plates just on a daily basis. And obviously the older siblings started moving out over a period of time.
Yes.
But yeah, it was pretty crazy, you know. It was crazy, but I look back and I just feel so grateful for the lessons and learnings and things like that, and what we've been able to do and how we've been able to come together now, which is incredibly powerful.
Amazing. Feels so wonderful actually to be between such an a community, a total community of people who you can call your own, and then you're getting along together well and they have your back. What a beautiful feeling. Yes.
You know, it also taught me a lot about, you know, different types of personalities, right? This is
Yes.
one thing. So you shared in the introduction that I got 5 promotions in a 5-year period, right? So I went from a place of being in school where I struggled with learning. I had a lot of learning difficulties. I used to run an absolute muck at school. You know, I was very disrespectful to the teachers, which I've apologized to some since leaving there. But I had a lot of learning difficulties, right? And I went from a place of the story being, I can't learn and I'm confused and this is too difficult, to identifying that, you know, there were certain subjects, for example, like chemistry or biology, that it's like, well, this isn't really going to do, like, I don't really want to do this in the real world. So I didn't want to apply myself. And then when I ended up leaving and going into, you know, the corporate space, I found something that I liked and that I actually enjoyed. And I was able to work and communicate with different types of people. And one thing that I recognized when I was working with different people is, wow, because I had my 11 siblings, you know, we've all got different personality types, and some people like talking more, and some people talk in riddles, and some people are visual, and some people are auditory. Learning the different types of ways to communicate with people and understanding people and all of that really helped when I was actually working in a team environment. So I feel like it definitely gave me a bit of a foot up in the aspect of like, well, I've already learned to deal with these different types of people and learn about
Yes.
communication skills, which made an incredible difference.
Yes, actually, so true. And there's so much learning involved because finally, end of the day, we are living between people, we are dealing with people, and you grew up between so many different personalities. So that
Yeah.
gave you a very good perspective on different things. A very
Yes.
good perspective, yes.
Yeah.
What are the
Massively.
different needs they have, and how do they deal with it? Behavioral issues, anything and everything. I think
Mhm.
that was amazing. When did you realize that you wanted to be a coach and help others? Where did that realization come from?
I think it's like 90% of coaches. I went to a Tony Robbins event and I was like, wow, this is amazing, right? So my childhood dream was to always be a police officer, right? Whenever if you were to have asked me when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have said a police. And it's funny and true because in 2017 I ended up leaving one of my jobs and I was going to pursue policing. But then as I waited up, I was like, you know what? I've got a story that I would love to share. I'd love to help people. I'd love to serve people. But I realized as I'd met different people in the police force, I was like, I want to help people, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel aligned. I didn't want to put myself in certain positions that they had put themselves in. And there was just a part of me that was like, this just doesn't feel right. So I ended up going down a different pathway. And then in 2019, my partner and I ended up going to Unleash the Power Within, which was absolutely amazing. And that opened up my whole, I feel like I walked into Narnia. Like it was just like so different. I felt like I was home. It was like so many other people who had this empowering mindset and they were focusing on what they wanted. And it was just so different to anything I'd ever really experienced before. And it opened up like my network and, to different types of people. And I actually ended up connecting with someone. And I said to him, oh, mate, I absolutely love your story. I love the post that you've shared on Facebook. Can you hire me? I want to work for you. And he's like, look, I'm not hiring at the moment, but I am teaching people how to do coaching and things like that. And I was like, that's it. I want to start my own business because this is amazing. So it was in 2019 that I ended up pursuing that. I had this vision, and it's so funny when I look back at my booklet of Unleash the Power Within. I didn't know at the time what coaching really was. Like I just thought Tony Robbins was a motivational speaker or he was inspiring. And everything that I've written down as to what I would like to pursue, having no idea how to do it, this is what I'm living now. And it's amazing to look back. It's like, I didn't know what it was, but I've been able to create that. So that's where it came from, really seeing that and being like, wow, this man knows how to identify patterns and help people change and have lifelong change and go in the direction that they want. And that just inspired me beyond anything. And I was like, I just need to go all in and make it happen. And here we are today having this conversation.
How beautiful. How did you tackle the issues of ADHD and depression and all of these? You shared in the beginning that discipline and consistency was something that really helped you. Did
Yes.
it also help you with all these issues that you had?
Mm-hmm. Look, I would say the discipline and consistency, yes. The thing is, the funny thing is, and I don't diss depression in any way, shape, or form. I do believe it's a real thing, 100%. So to any of your viewers, don't take this the wrong way. But when I was personally diagnosed with depression, it got so much worse. And the reason I believe that is because it's like I got put into this box and then I was like, well, I've got depression, so I'm not allowed to be happy. And I'm not allowed to find joy. And I shouldn't feel this way because this is what I've been diagnosed with. So this is how I should feel. So that's the meaning that I had linked to it. So I look back and recognize that things actually got so much worse. And when I realized how to actually, as I shared earlier on, about when you have discipline in the small things, you can have discipline in the big things. Starting off with, what am I doing every day? Like every day, am I moving my body? Am I eating good food? Am I drinking water? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on what I have or what I don't have? Am I focusing on what I do want or what I don't want? Am I focusing on traumas I experienced in the past or looking forward to what I would like to experience in the future or what I would like to experience today? So just bringing it back to those basic things of even just the focus and the mindset of where I'm directing that played an absolute significant part. With the ADHD, I feel like over a period of time that's diminished, but at the same time, I definitely think I still experience it today. I just don't necessarily label myself with it highly, but there are times where I'll be trying to do work and my mind is just like so all over the place. I've got different things popping up and I've just got the practices that I do to be able to help me identify what I need to do and have the support and accountability and take the necessary breaks that I've got. And I like to work in small increments. So it's really just about having the structure to support me with where I want to go rather than living by and getting stuck in this box of this is my label, so I'm going to live by that. So it's like I choose to not live with that label anymore. Maybe I'll experience certain things, but I'm not going to have the label define who I am.
Perfect. Makes a whole lot of sense, because when we attach these labels, our mind tends to perceive them as problems, and it wants to stick with that label that, okay, so I have ADHD, so this is how I need to behave. This is the challenge that I have. Yes. And when we take off that label, then you are as good as anyone else. And this was a beautiful share. I think anyone who's watching us and who's facing these issues or symptoms, I would say, they can actually choose to do that with themselves. Rather than labeling themselves, they can just choose certain regimen, certain way of working and leading their life. And I think they would be good to go.
Yes.
So now, as an empowerment coach, what are the most common challenges that you come across being faced by your clients? What's the thread running, the most common challenges that you see?
The most common challenges, what a great question. I would say one of the key things is people focusing on what they don't want rather than what they do want. And people not actually asking themselves the question of what's most important for me. And I see this a lot of the time, especially with mums, for example, right? Because there's this, I think, and I'm an auntie only. I've got 17 nieces and nephews. I'm not a parent, so I say that as a total disclaimer. But one thing I've seen a lot of the time is when someone becomes a mum, or even when someone has been taught a certain way by their own family, that it's like, well, what you need doesn't matter and you need to give everything to everybody else. But the thing is recognizing that you can't serve from an empty cup, and it gets to a point where if you keep serving and giving and giving and giving, it gets to a point of unfulfillment, where it's like, what would actually happen if you gave to yourself and you could serve from the overflow? So if you could make yourself a priority and you can serve your children, your partner, your family, your employees, your colleagues, everybody from the overflow, but looking after you as a primary contact. And even you teach people how to treat you, right? So if you're not taking care of you, then what does that indirectly tell everybody else? It essentially says, well, don't take care of you and don't worry about taking care of me, because I'm not even taking care of me. If you're not leading by example, then that's going to be a key issue. And then that also comes hand in hand. If people are constantly putting themselves on the back burner, then commonly they're not asking for what they want. So a lot of the time people might start working with me, for example, within one-on-one or within a group program that I offer or something like that. I've just recently finished up a 3-month container, and some of the things within the group, we've got maybe 3 or 4 people who've moved house within that space, about 3 people quitting their jobs and applying for new jobs. And the reason, or even people asking for pay rises as well, like one of the boys, he's moved location, he's moving interstate, he's quit his job, he's applied for a new job, and he's asked for the money that he wants, all within a 3-month space, right? And he's like, Chrissy, my life has just changed so much in the last 3 months. It's crazy. Like, I totally disconnected. And then the ripple effect of that also is now he's building greater relationships with his wife and with his children, and he's more present and he's experiencing peace, right? And the key thing in all of this is really going from this state of survival to, if I stop for a moment and actually ask myself, what do I want the most? And recognize as an individual that when you get to experience your best version, everybody else gets to experience your best version. Isn't that amazing to realize? It's like, it's not about sacrificing you, but it's like, I get to gift this to myself and to the rest of the world. It's not selfish. It's the most selfless thing that you could do, because you get to experience it and everybody else.
Everyone else, yes.
Yeah. So I would say, like, the real key things is focusing on what's actually most important for you and what you want, and then learning to ask for what you want, like, because they're the key things. Like the ripple effect of not asking yourself what you want means that you're not speaking your truth. It means that you're giving your power away. So there are a lot of the key things that I'm finding in the marketplace, and where I get passionate about helping people to reclaim that power and say, no, let's make you a focus for the time being, and let's see what shifts in your life. How do you feel? And then what does everyone else say as well when you get to experience your best self, because they get to experience it as well.
Amazing, amazing. So to set and achieve goals, Chrissy, what are the most important things that a person should focus on and work on?
What are the most important things that people can, like, to achieve their goals?
Yes, to set them and to achieve them.
Yeah. So to set the goal, the first thing I'd be asking is your goal something that's clear and concise? Like, how will you know when you've achieved your goal, right? And even understanding what's a step that you need to take to be able to go in that direction. The other thing as well is recognizing that if you're setting a goal, right, and then you're telling people about it, but they're going to put you down about that goal, it's like, just be conscious of who are you telling about these goals, and are they going to be people to empower you or disempower you? Are they going to support you or not support you? And it's like, for example, if someone's watching this and they're like, yeah, Chrissy, but I've got these goals, and I tell my family, but my family put me down about it. It's like, leave your family as your family, not your mastermind group, right?
Yes.
It's
Correct.
making sure that if that's the case, you're putting yourself in an environment, kind of like we were connected through a friend, right? And who said, hey, connect with Chrissy, you'll get along well and all of this. Narissa, shout out to you, Narissa, is like, that recognition of making sure you've got people within your sphere. So if you don't know people, it's like, go out there and find a network of people who are like-minded like you. Yes. So it's first of all getting clear on, what is it that you actually want? If you take a step back and even ask someone, maybe someone like you or I, who actually help people with this, we can offer potentially a free session. Maybe it's a 15-minute brainstorming session. It's like, what do you actually need to do? Get an objective perspective from somebody else. Make sure you're in an environment that's going to grow, like support with your growth, rather than diminish your growth. You can have the most magnificent tree, but if it doesn't get sunlight and water, the tree's going to die. So it's the same thing with your goals and your dreams. If it's not getting the right nutrients and the sun and the soil and the wind and the water and all of that stuff, it's not going to survive. So environment is one of the massive, most significant keys.
Absolutely. So when you ask people to say, visualize their goals,
Mm-hmm.
do you ask them to be very, very rational, very logical, or do you ask them to go ahead and visualize anything that they want?
Mm-hmm.
Do they need to be reasonable, or they can be,
what's realistic?
Yes.
No, don't be realistic. So this is the thing. I definitely think there's a fine balance, right? One thing that I identified, and I'll share my own experience here, is when I started out in my coaching business, I set this massive goal. And whilst it was exciting, it was so big that it turned me off, right? So it's this fine balance between something that it's going to give you a bit of an edge, but it's not going to be so big to completely turn you off and say, wow, this is well and truly beyond me. So one thing I love to look and do is like, is it a little bit risky? Yet is it actually tangible? It's like, do you know someone who has set that goal within that particular time frame? And it's like, if you've got evidence of other people doing it, great, do it. But then it's also, for example, if we use an example of someone that I spoke to a number of months ago, where she's gone from earning, say, $50,000 per year, and then she's like, I want to be a billionaire, right? So she's skipped the multi-six figures, she's skipped the millions, she's gone straight to the billions, but doesn't even have a concept of what that is. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're starting out doing goal setting, at least set something where it's like, it's so tangible and you can see it, that it's possible. You don't have to have an understanding of all of the hows, but at least being like, okay, I actually can understand what this would kind of be, rather than going from 50,000 to billion.
To a billion.
Like, it's crazy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, let's set something that's going to be a little bit risky, but not so risky that it's going to completely turn you off.
Yeah. And you can't even visualize it. When you say this, even I'm feeling like if I think of $1 billion, I don't think I can visualize myself doing that.
Yeah.
We need to take steps. I think, it's important to take steps. Yeah, we can take probably, 3 steps further.
Yep.
It need not be one at a time. It can be 3, it can be 4, we can jump. But we can't go from the bottom of the ladder to the top of the ladder. I definitely agree to that. It's not possible that we can jump that much.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like that recognition of, it's like, no, don't get shot down by these dreams, but it's like, make it risky, but just utilize evidence from other people, because it's realizing that, and this is one of the things I love, setting massive audacious goals with my clients, right? And one of the things is, when you set a big goal, all of your crap comes up, all of your limitations comes up, all of your unconscious beliefs come up. This feeling of, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. What if I fail? What if people reject me, right? So it's knowing that, well, this is great. It's like, let's set this goal. Let's allow that to come up, and let's actually knock one off at a time. So we're doing this methodically. But if you're making it so big that it's then turning you right off, it's like, we don't want to do that, but we want to set it enough to give you an edge and to make you a little bit excited but scared at the same time. That's the fine balance. I like to have something that's exciting and scary. It's like, okay, let's go for it.
Yes. Right. I totally agree. Okay. So what role has forgiveness and gratitude played in your life?
Wow. Forgiveness changed the game for me, really. Forgiveness it fits under the pillar. So there's 4 key things that I commonly do within my coaching, right? That I commonly focus on, which is unstoppable confidence, incredible certainty, speak your truth and reclaim your power. And one of the things under reclaiming your power is forgiveness, because when you forgive, well, let's say when you're not forgiving and when you're resentful, it's realizing that you resenting somebody doesn't affect the other person. It only affects you. I could sit here and be so resentful of something that someone did to me in the past, and they don't actually know in this very moment. It doesn't actually affect them in this very moment, right? Yet when I can forgive, it's knowing that forgiveness is for me. So forgiveness has played one of the key roles. And if I go back to this priest who helped me, a number of years ago, one of the things that he shared with me that it didn't really drop until a number of years later, but he's like, Chrissy, when you genuinely forgive, naturally you'll forget. And as I say, Andrew, I didn't understand that at the time, but it was recognizing that it's like, when you forgive the person for what they've done, you're not going to forget the situation that occurred, but you may forget the power that it had over you, because it's like saying, I'm surrendering this and I'm letting this go and I'm forgiving you for me. And I'm going to reclaim my power and know that I can give you love, that I can send you love, and know that if you knew different, you would have done different. And it's like taking this step back to say, if someone's hurting, then like if someone is emitting hurt, then that's obviously what they're experiencing. We can only shower whatever we've got inside of us. So if someone's going around giving love, that's what they've got inside of them. If someone's going around giving anger or hate or rage, that's what's going on inside of them. So it's taking a step back and saying, okay, cool. What's the purpose of holding on to this resentment? Because the person that hurts the most is me. So forgiveness and really being kind to myself and having compassion with myself, and then also with the people that I've needed to forgive, has set me free beyond anything I can imagine. And when I've done practices with clients relating to forgiveness, it shifts everything. So powerful. And then gratitude on the other hand, so once we've got the forgiveness, that's one thing. The gratitude is, one thing I love about gratitude is it brings you back to the present, right? It brings you back to the present moment. Yet when you're being grateful, like I can't experience anger and gratitude at the same time. It's impossible to actually fully feel those 2 emotions at the same time, right?
Right.
So being grateful, it brings me back to the present. However, it also allows me to go into this state and into this energy and into this frequency. And when you're being grateful, you're focusing on what's good. You're focusing on the things that you're thankful for, that you're grateful for, the blessings. And it's like, once again, it really comes back in with that focus. So if you can take time on a daily, not just to logically think about gratitude, but to really feel it,
that
is so powerful as well.
Yes. And I think it's not even a ritual. I won't even say, some people say they have a gratitude ritual. I don't believe in a gratitude ritual because I believe in living in attitude of gratitude every
Yeah.
moment. It cannot be a ritual. Then you are doing it mechanically.
Yes.
Then you do not have the feeling. You just have to do it one time or two times in a day, and then you just get on to do it, that I have to do my ritual. How
Yeah.
can gratitude be a ritual? It is a feeling that you generate from that is always there inside of you. You're ever grateful for the moment.
It's even like with you saying that, like if we've got someone watching this who's like, you know what, I never do gratitude at all, and I barely even know how that feels and what it looks like. Maybe it will start with a ritual until it becomes who you are and what you
Yes.
do unconsciously. So it's a really good way to kind of get the gears rolling and to start it
Yes.
off kind of like, when you're driving, you start with the first gear, then the second gear, then the third gear, and then you don't need
Yes.
to do, once you're in fifth gear, then you can just keep rolling. Yeah. And you can kind of,
Yes.
stay on autopilot for a little while until you need to slow down. But it's the same thing. It may start with the ritual to implement that. And one thing that I suggest to a lot of clients when we're bringing in new rituals and stuff is using your alarm on your phone. And I'll say to them, put an alarm on every 2 hours. And it depends, like each person for every different situation, but whether it's asking yourself, okay, cool, what have my thoughts been over the last hour? Or what is something that I can be grateful for about myself? What is something that I can acknowledge myself for about what I've done and who I'm being today? So it's utilizing, this beautiful device that we've got to, for something good, and incorporating that in, like starting it with a ritual until it becomes your new unconscious habit and your unconscious programming. It may
Yes.
start as a ritual, but then it doesn't have to stay that way forever, and living by that attitude of gratitude for sure.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. People who really do not know the power of gratitude, and they are starting in a new space, in a complete new flavor of life. For them, I think it has to start as a ritual,
Yeah.
and slowly, once they start understanding, or rather feeling that it generates in them the wholeness they feel when they
Yes.
do this, as they keep on realizing it becomes a greater and greater and greater part of, I think, their everyday living,
Yes.
where end of the day, then you are completely wholly, always in an attitude of gratitude 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah. It just
absolutely.
becomes the new unconscious focus.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, how do you actually keep the fire burning in your belly? Sometimes what happens is, you were talking about Tony Robbins, UPW, or it might be any seminar, any workshop.
Mm-hmm.
We watch a podcast and we get motivated, be inspired. But what can keep the fire in the belly burning consistently? How do you consistently keep yourself motivated?
So one of the keys for me, there's something one of my mentors shares, which I love, and that's structures create outcomes, right? And one thing that I've been very conscious of doing is making sure I'm always in a structure that's going to move me forward. I'm always in a structure that's going to challenge me in a good way, a structure that's going to move me forward, and a structure that's going to keep me motivated and on my toes and disciplined and all of that stuff, right? So for me, it's having a one-on-one coach is absolutely key. Typically being part of like a mastermind group so that I'm surrounding myself with other people who are on a similar journey, because one of the things that I found, Anshu, was when I started in coaching, all of the mentors that I've worked with have been like 50 to 100 steps away from me, which was inspiring, but also uninspiring at the same time. I would find myself comparing myself to them rather than being inspired by them. So I'd be like, you're so far away and I feel so alone, and then I would find myself in a bit challenged. So I was like, you know what? If I'm in a mastermind group, so I've got people who are on my level and I'm being coached or mentored by someone who's 50 to 100 steps ahead of me, then that's a really good balance, right? As well as getting education based on results. So that's one of the key things, right? I've found is being mentored and coached has been a massive thing. But then also making sure I've got the structure of like, who are the people that I'm surrounding myself with? So making sure I'm catching up with friends and people within my mastermind group who inspire me, who excite me, who it's not just going out and having small talk, it's going out and talking about our big audacious goals and dreams and desires. And it's like, we have these conversations and it's like, wow, I'm so pumped up and just naturally motivated to do work or to do things that are going to move me forward. And there was something else that I was thinking of that I totally, that's the other thing as well. Like, I've bought certain courses and stuff. So for example, I know next month I've got a 5-day course that I'll be going to live. And that's another structure that I'm part of. And I know that when I'm in this environment, when I'm around those people who are growth minded, who, it's education based on results, it's going to help me move forward. Like, these are the structures that I've personally got in my life to support with this consistency and growth. And then there's also the other structures like my morning rituals or my consistent meditations per day or connecting with my vision. They're little structures that I've personally got to help me connect with who I am and where I'm going and what I want to attract into my life, bringing it back to the present, as well as, the unconscious, attitude of gratitude. That's another structure that I don't really even consciously think about just because it's become who I am. So all of these things compounded is the effects of it's massive.
Totally. Keeping yourself consistently in that environment and between all these kind of people who are having that growth mindset is so important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the importance cannot be told enough.
Yeah.
It plays a major role. Yes.
Absolutely.
But an environment is always greater than you and your willpower. It's always greater than your willpower. Absolutely. With willpower, you can go a certain distance, but finally you will come back and you will be pressurized by the environment to come down, drop down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it, making sure that I'm in the environment of people who, if I make a statement to them, they will turn around and say, Chrissy, you're playing small. What's going on here? Yes. Rather than people in the past I might have surrounded myself with, be like, oh, okay, that's fair enough. It's like I make an excuse to not do something and they're like, okay, that's fair enough. You're tired. Rather than these people saying, no, like, that's not okay. You said you wanted this. Come on, let's go do it. You can do it.
Yes.
Let's get that strength within you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So those people who they're not going to buy into my story or my limitations.
Yes.
They're going to encourage me and say, hey, remember, this is what you wanted. Let's go do it.
Yes. Keep your commitment. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Massively.
I know that you do believe in the limitlessness of the human spirit. So who, according to you, is limitless?
Who is limitless? I believe that everybody's limitless. I believe the limitations that we put on ourselves have been conditioned, but I believe that every individual has infinite potential, like, I don't know on different people's religious beliefs, but whatever this infinite power is that keeps our heart beating every day and our cells replenishing on a consistent basis, like, I believe that we're one with that and that there's this infinite potential. It's just a matter of us giving ourselves the permission to tap into that. So I think everybody's limitless, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Only we need to just get aware and start working towards bringing it out. It's all innate. It's all innate within us. But we do not give ourselves permission. We keep playing small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we don't have to. And that's
we don't have to.
Commonly we can be playing small, but we don't have to. We can choose. And it's bringing it back to the present. What am I going to do today? And how can I show up and be limitless? It's like, what would I like to do today to be limitless?
Yes.
Imagine starting the day with that one question. How can I show up today as a limitless me? Take action from that and just be present in each day.
Yes, absolutely. Great, Chrissy. So we move on to our next round, which is a shorter round. It's the lightning bolt round. And I'll ask you questions and you can give me a short and concise answers on this. So let's have that.
Let's go.
Okay. Please define Chrissy in 2 lines.
A powerful being who has a heart of gold and wants to share it with the world.
Lovely. NLP to you is?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, but then what is it? I didn't ask the full form.
Powerful tools followed by techniques, a trail of techniques.
Okay. Advantages of a huge family.
There's always someone to connect with.
Yes. Who has been the biggest inspiration in your life?
My sister, Ronnie.
Okay. Would you all like to share a small incident or something where, to bring out this inspiration?
She was there for me when I needed someone. She played a massive key role in my life when I was growing up. And one of the key things is her integrity. And I recognize that that's really rubbed off on me in a really powerful and incredible way. And it definitely defines why I do things the way that I do now. I could talk forever on it, but really the integrity and living with that value has been key. And I know that I owe that to her.
Well, that itself sounds so inspiring to me. Amazing.
Thank you.
What are the top 3 things in your bucket list?
Oh, bungee jumping, feeding 2,000 people, and skydiving from different places around the world.
Nice. Even bungee jumping is there in my bucket list.
Awesome. So good. Can't wait.
You never know. We might meet up, wherever we go for bungee jumping.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Anshu. Let's do it.
Yeah. Any daily rituals that you follow, like non-negotiable?
Non-negotiables, really connecting with the breath. That's one key thing. Really focusing on gratitude, and reflecting on my day before I go to sleep, and my morning routine, which is typically some kind of audio or some kind of breathing to just really bring me back into me.
Okay. They are non-negotiables for you.
Yeah.
Right. Your favorite food, most favorite that you can eat every day?
Mexican. I love Mexican.
Okay. Nice. And you can cook?
I try to. Yeah, I can cook pretty good food. Pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it does the job.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Your favorite go-to song when you're feeling low?
When I'm feeling low, Celine Dion, I Believe in You.
Beautiful
Absolutely
number.
love that song. I've probably
Yes.
listened to it hundreds, maybe thousands of times. I don't know how much, but a lot.
Yes, it's a beautiful song.
Mm.
What are the top 3 recommended books by you? If you have to recommend 3 books to the audience, what are the 3?
The 5 a.m. Club, The Prosperous Coach, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. I love
I've read
those
2
3.
of them. I've not read The Prosperous Coach.
Oh, get in on that one. It's an amazing book. I love it. You'd love it. I reckon you'd really love it too, ain't you?
I definitely would pick it up. An ideal life to you is?
Living a life on my terms with love and gratitude, making a difference in the world with the people I love.
Lovely. So we are done with the lightning bolt round, and I think within this short time, I think it was a very, very powerful conversation that we had, Chrissy. Any last messages that you want to give to the audience before we say bye to them?
I think the last message that I would really just love to share is remembering that you were born into this world so incredibly powerful, and you still have that. It's just a matter of you giving yourself the permission to tap into that. So remember to connect with who you are, with who you were born with, and go and live a life on your terms that you love, and that sets your heart on fire.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and all this energy and the wisdom that you have brought from the things that you have implemented in your own life, because it makes a whole lot of a difference. When you have done things yourself and when you share, they come out very authentically and people can really connect with it, and makes a lot of a difference to people's lives. I know that. So keep doing the amazing work you're doing, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Anshu. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much for inviting me onto this show and, being part of the community.
It was an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure it would be adding value to loads of people who are going to watch it later as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, all right, audience. So great. I hope you were really, really inspired, and you might have actually got answers to a lot of questions you might have had in your hearts. I'm sure you would have got that. So go ahead, live your full life as an authentic self and be limitless, because you are created in the image of God, and God is that limitless being who's created this beautiful universe. So go out and be whoever you want to be. So with that message, I want to say bye-bye to you. God bless you. And we'll meet next week once again on the Wednesday with another phenomenal guest. Take care. Bye-bye.